Hello, everyone. I'm Kathy Caldwell, coordinator of the Southern California Water Dialogue. Welcome to our meeting today. Happy to have you. Our title today is for our speakers, the next chapter for Southern California water storage. I think you're going to love the topic, and we're all going to learn a lot. I want to thank our co-chairs, Connor and Dee. Connor will be joining us a little later, and Dee is out of town for work, so can't be with us today, but we'll look forward to Connor joining a little later on. Also, a special thank you to our steering committee. They all do so much to help us coordinate this, to help us come up with topics for our meetings, to help secure our speakers and guide the presentations. Also know that any of you out there have the opportunity to suggest topics for us, or we would love to hear from you. Just put that in the chat section, and we'll discuss in our steering committee meetings. So thanks to the steering committee. Let me briefly go over the webinar ground rules. I know all of you are veterans at Zoom meetings by now. But just in case, if you have any problems, technically you're not hearing or seeing something, you can use the chat feature to communicate with us. We will spend approximately 50 minutes on the presentations that'll follow this introduction that I'm giving. And following that, we'll have our dialogue or Q&A time. And please use the Q&A feature, type in your question, and then you can click send. Don't use the chat feature. If you have a problem with connection, here's a suggestion you can see on the screen. We will have everyone muted, so the best way to communicate is through chat. Next slide, please, Stephanie. Here's where you find the place where you enter your questions for our speakers. The speakers, all three speakers, will make their presentations. We won't have any questions until the end of their presentation. That'll be about 1 o'clock. And then we will turn our attention to our dialogue. And Connor or I will manage the questions. Type in your question, click send, and if you don't want to type in a question, you see that one has already been asked, and you also want an answer, just click the thumbs up, and that results in it being elevated sort of to the top of the list if we get more than one person thinking it's an important question. And yeah, so that's how we'll do that. And great. Here's just a quick agenda. We're done with the announcement. I'm going to introduce the speakers now. We'll have our presentations. As I said, that part of the meeting will be over about 1. Then we'll have our dialogue. Connor will do that today. So the next chapter for Southern California Water and Storage. We're honored to have 3 great speakers today. John Shama, who is the section manager of the Engineering Services Group at MWD, he's been with MWD over 30 years, really knows his stuff and his information. So he will be presenting. He'll be followed by Betsy Miller-Vixie. Betsy is GM of San Bernardino Valley Water Conservation District. And in turn, Betsy will be followed by Rob Catherman. He is director of the Water Replenishment District. So we'll start now with John and move forward with that presentation.
Thank you very much, Kathy. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here this afternoon to discuss Metropolitan's effort to expand its surface water storage portfolio. Next slide, please. Metropolitan has launched a comprehensive study to assess existing surface storage. determine the need for additional storage, and identify potential new storage sites. Today, I will update you on our progress to date on surface water storage and outline plans for moving forward with the next phase of the project, also known as Phase 3. Next slide, please. But before I talk about surface water storage, let me spend a moment on Metropolitan's system reliability strategy. Metropolitan has in place a system reliability strategy that was developed in 2007 in collaboration with its member agencies. The system reliability strategy has 5 pillars, and the first pillar is water supply, and I will go over what's included in each one of these pillars. But it's important to know that resilience resides within every one of these silos or pillars. Next slide, please. So the first pillar is water supply pillar. It is the ability of Metropolitan to develop and maintain an adequate water supply portfolio that is designed to meet the full service retail demand under all foreseeable hydrological conditions. So that water supply portfolio really usually has 3 components. It's core supply, meaning Colorado State Water Project, hopefully in the future recycled water. Flex supply, that's storage that resides in reservoirs outside of Metropolitan's service area that may belong to others, and surface water storage that belongs to Metropolitan. It's that component that I will be focused on today. Of course, having that supply also requires you to be able to have enough capacity to move it around, to have reliable infrastructure that is ready to ensure the delivery of that water, to have a system that is flexible. So if one component is not working, is under repair, is being rehabbed for whatever reason, then we can move around that and still deliver that water. And any reliability strategy will have an emergency response capability so that we can respond to unplanned outages and restore service as quickly as possible, making sure that the community remains resilient. Next slide, please. So for Metropolitan, surface water storage is a critical component of both the resilience and reliability of the region's water supply system. Storage buffers against drought and climate variability by allowing Metropolitan to capture and hold water during wet years for use during dry ones, increasing system flexibility. Metropolitan's integrated resource strategy relies on surface storage to balance peaks and valleys in both supply and demand, with that enhancing its supply reliability. Surface storage provides, if you will, operational resilience by allowing Metropolitan to adjust water deliveries depending on system constraints. Next slide, please. Storage also supports environmental and regulatory requirements by allowing Metropolitan to manage flow timing and maintain water quality standards required for environmental protection, especially if it in relationships to the Delta operations. And it's important to point out that storage is a complementary activity to groundwater storage and recycled water. Next slide, please. Metropolitan's 2022 Integrated Water Resource Plan, also known as IRP, emphasizes an adaptive management approach that prioritizes surface storage as an important tool in managing uncertainty. It is also considered a component of a drought resilience strategy. Next slide, please. I have been managing resilience for a number of years at Metropolitan, so this slide is very important to me and close to my heart. But Metropolitan's really effort to build a resilient system began in the 1930s during the design of the Colorado River Aqueduct and continues to this day. Since 2022, we have adopted a more holistic approach by developing its strategic infrastructure resilience plan. We are now in the final phase of the plan, which focuses on its implementation. Among its many objectives, drought resilience has been identified as a key priority, and expanding surface storage is a critical component of that resilience effort. Next slide, please. The surface water storage study addresses the highly variable supply conditions of the State Water Project by identifying potential surface water storage sites. These storage facilities can capture surplus water during wet years in Northern California and making that water available for use during dry years. This strategy helps Metropolitan mitigate the effects of severe droughts and manage fluctuating water supplies more effectively. The study objectives are to improve the reliability of the State Water Project supplies, enhance our regional water resilience, and support climate adaptation in alignment with our Camp for Water or the Climate Action Master Plan for Water that Metropolitan recently adopted the framework for. The full study is structured in 3 phases. Phase 1 was completed in 2023, and Phase 2 has recently concluded. Phase 3, which will begin next month, will focus on site-specific assessments. Next slide, please. During Phase 1 of the study, over 300 potential sites ranging from the West San Joaquin Valley to the Southern California region were identified. These sites were individually screened and evaluated based on criteria including their location, capacity, geographical formation, environmental constraints, and partnership opportunities. Out of all 300 plus sites that were evaluated, 95 sites advanced into Phase 2. In early 2024, Phase 2 of the study commenced. Phase 2 study included Phase 2A, which applied more detailed screening criteria. You can think about it more stringent criteria, such as site distance from the aqueduct, the vertical lift, storage capacity, land ownership and usage, interference with flood protection, and the potential for interagency partnerships. With these additional screenings, 21 sites were selected to move into Phase 2B. With detailed screening from Phase 2B, 10 most prominent sites were selected to move into Phase 3, which will also be conducted into 2 phases or stages, Phase 3A and Phase 3B. The result of all of this, we hope, is a very limited number of very high potential sites that will advance into a possible CEQA evaluation process. Next slide, please. The map you see to your left summarizes the 21 sites that were identified in Phase 2B. The key criteria considered during Phase 2B are shown in the table on the right side of the slide. The criteria include various key factors related to the facility's characteristics and overall performance. These include storage efficiency, potential for sediment accumulation and impact on water quality. System-wide considerations are also evaluated, such as how well the facility contributes to overall storage objectives and opportunities to improve operational flexibility. We also evaluated factors that included constructability, geological risk, for example, seismic activity, liquefaction, landslides, and we also looked at environmental considerations. Climate adaptability and reliability were also assessed, with emphasis on the ability to do pump storage and resilience to natural hazards, earthquakes, wildfires, and droughts. Next slide, please. During phase 2B, each of these sites were carefully evaluated under the criteria I described, and they were rated on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 was the least favorable and 5 was the most favorable. The 21 sites were scored and ranked under each criterion, and then we grouped them based on their geographical location. The data that we collected derived from both the qualitative and quantitative screening during phase 2B were all compiled and ranked into a matrix. I included in the slide a snapshot of the matrix that was developed so you can see the complexity of this evaluation process. But as a result of all of this work, 10 highest scoring sites were retained with storage capacity, as you can see, ranging from about 110 to about 650,000 acre-feet. Next slide, please. The objective of phase 3 is to conduct detailed technical and environmental evaluations of these 10 sites from phase 2B. Phase 3A will assess the viability through reconnaissance surveys, coordination with the Department of Water Resources and other reservoir proponents, and analysis of state water project operations and metropolitan supply needs. Phase 3B will involve field evaluations of the remaining sites, initial outreach to landlords, refinement of technical and constructability requirements, and the development of an environmental compliance strategy. Next slide, please. Currently, the team is compiling the phase 2 evaluation report by incorporating the final review comments from all stakeholders. And we are also developing a detailed phase 3 plan and scope of work. We're negotiating with our consultants with an anticipation that the study of phase 3A of the study will start in earnest next month in June. Next slide, please. In conclusion, I would like to say that surface water storage is an indispensable component of Metropolitan's portfolio. It ensures that Southern California has a resilient, reliable, and adaptable water supply. It plays a central role in buffering variability, enabling operational flexibility, and supporting broader regional water management goals. It also complements groundwater storage programs. Those are the subject of the next two presentations. Next slide, please. This concludes my presentation. It's now my pleasure to introduce the next speaker. Betsy Miller-Vixie is the General Manager of the San Bernardino Valley Water Conservation District. And Betsy, I turn over the presentation to you.
Thank you so much, John. It's really interesting to hear about what MET is doing on surface storage. I am going to shift us to groundwater with my presentation. For those of you that I haven't met yet, my name is Betsy Miller. I'm the General Manager of the San Bernardino Valley Water Conservation District. And I know I haven't had the opportunity to meet many of you that are on the call today. Prior to joining the Conservation District, going on 6 years ago, I spent the first almost 20 years of my career at the city of San Diego. And so I joined the Conservation District just before COVID. And just after I got promoted into the current role, it started raining. So it's been pretty busy. And I do look forward to learning more about the larger region and coordinating with folks across the greater Los Angeles area. And my thanks today to the Southern California Water Dialogue for inviting me to join this discussion and share a little bit about what we're doing in the Bunker Hill Groundwater Basin, and again, get to know more of you. So our first order of business, next slide, please, would be, where is the Bunker Hill Groundwater Basin? This basin covers 90,000 acres. It's halfway between LA and Palm Springs on the 10. So as you get into Colton, Rialto, as you enter Loma Linda, as you start hitting the off-ramps that are named after states like Tennessee and Alabama, that's the area where the Bunker Hill Groundwater Basin is. Next slide, please. Thanks to the basin's nearly 6 million acre feet of storage that generally goes down about 1,000 feet underground, almost 3/4 of our region's water supply relies on local groundwater. Our regional water supply also has significant additional inputs of state water through the State Water Project, of local surface water, and of some newer recycled water plants that have come online recently. Next slide, please. So this slide, I just keep thinking of it as what it takes to build a sustainable water supply in the 21st century. When you have a diverse water portfolio like our area, planning, managing, and delivering that water takes a lot of different agencies working together. We're lucky to have agencies with different missions and different expertise. In our area, we have the cities of Colton, Loma Linda, Redlands, Rialto, and San Bernardino. In addition to the Water Conservation District, we have East Valley and West Valley Water Districts and the San Bernardino Valley Municipal Water District. So together, all of these agencies contribute to provide the different inputs that you see on the slide here. We're serving as local water masters, designing and constructing critical water infrastructure. San Bernardino Valley Municipal Water District imports our state project water. Different cities and water districts are operating recycled water systems, leading headwater resilience, and then working together on a lot of interagency projects to look at possible increases to our local water supplies through projects like the Forecast Informed Reservoir Operations that's being implemented at Seven Oaks Dam under the leadership of San Bernardino Valley. Today, I want to start my presentation by looking at the last chapter of water storage in our area, and specifically at the groundwater recharge that's led by the Conservation District, one piece of that puzzle shown here on this slide. And then I want to shift into sharing a few key partner-led or partnership projects that are critical to continuing groundwater storage in this current time. So we're now in a time of increasing populations, changing climates, and we're all dealing with major shifts in our regulatory environments. So while we're very proud of what we've done in the past, it's time not just to learn from that and build on that, but also to expand into some of these other areas as well. Next slide, please. So we'll start with a look at the Conservation District. And as you can see from this photo here, we've been around for a while. We began our work in the late 1800s as the Voluntary Water Conservation Association, and we were founded and funded by our local farming community. In 1932, we became a California Special District with the passage of the Water Conservation Act the previous year. Next slide. And so today, over a century later, we're very proud to carry on this legacy of uninterrupted groundwater recharge and stewardship. But again, as I mentioned, adding in all that entails in the 21st century. Next slide. The Water Conservation District executes our mission to recharge the Bunker Hill Basin through 89 simple, effective, and gravity-fed recharge basins that cover about 300 acres in the alluvial wash where the Santa Ana River comes down out of the mountains and meets the plains. The conditions in this area are pretty much perfect for groundwater recharge. We have the mountains that are catching the rain as it comes in off the Pacific, and they funnel it right down to us into the very porous alluvial fan, where in a perfectly clean basin with perfect conditions, we can percolate that water into the aquifer at rates that are up to 15 feet per day. The majority of these basins that you can see on this slide were constructed over the past century with high-tech equipment like mules and manual labor. But as you can see on the slide here, and you can see from their outlines which basins are the result of modern engineering. They're also lightly colored, a little bit lighter. We're also blessed to have 20 beautiful new basins that were recently constructed with modern equipment through a partnership with San Bernardino Valley Municipal Water District. Next slide, please. We began collecting detailed diversion data in 1912 as the Water Conservation Association. And since that time, the Water Conservation Association and then the Water Conservation District have recharged almost 1.5 million acre feet through these 89 basins. About 90% of these diversions occurred under our own longstanding water rights at the Conservation District. And more recently, we've also begun recharging additional water that's directed to us under partners' water rights, along with flows from the State Water Project in high allocation years. Next slide, please. So this is certainly an extraordinary, sustained effort, but I've been in water long enough now to know that most of you are doing the math in your head. And so when you do that math, you see that the Conservation District recharge averages out to a very modest 15,000 acre feet per year. That's only 1/3 of 1% of our aquifer storage capacity. And it's only 10% of the average pumping in our aquifer every year. So we definitely get an A for effort, but it's not enough to just do that work. We need to analyze the results of our work to date to truly understand the benefits of this work and how we can shift the work that we are doing to continue to provide the benefits to our region under the changes that we see in our world today. In order to do this, we recently completed a study that uses our 112-year data set, so 1912 to 2023, to quantify the changes in the aquifer levels due specifically to Water Conservation District recharge. We want to use this to strengthen our planning as we look to the future, as I mentioned, and we're also excited to share our experience with others sort of outside of our region who are beginning their own groundwater recharge and stewardship journey. Next slide, please. So the study results show that long-term but moderate scale and low-cost grassroots groundwater recharge efforts do result in significant positive outcomes for the health of the groundwater basin. In our area, the model results showed increases in groundwater elevation of more than 25 feet over 75 square miles, over 50 feet over 43 square miles, and from 100 to 300 feet in the vicinity of our recharge activities. As we looked at the model results compared to well locations, we discovered that 188 or 22% of our local production wells would have gone out of production without the district's operations. And we discovered that while the majority of our work benefits our aquifer, which of course is as we intend, our efforts have made us good neighbors with minor benefits modeled in adjoining aquifers as well. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to show a couple of specific points. What you see here is a difference between our actual groundwater levels, and those include the Water Conservation District's recharge. And that is compared to the modeled aquifer levels without Conservation District recharge. I do want to note there is other recharge that takes place within our basin, but the model, given that it was done by our district, the model and the results are specific to Water Conservation District results. So what you can see here is at a site that's approximately 10 miles away from our recharge facility, there were very limited differences between actual groundwater levels and modeled levels without district recharge. until the late 1990s. And at that point, we started to see a difference with a modeled difference of over 50 feet, groundwater recharge levels being over 50 feet lower than they would have been, than they are with Conservation District recharge in 2015. Next slide. Here, closer to our facilities, you can see that significant differences in the actual water levels and the modeled water levels without recharge activities were over 100 feet over 100 years ago. And then right next to our facilities, you can see that the groundwater levels, next slide, please. The modeled groundwater levels were over 300 feet higher in 2005 than they would have been without managed recharge. Next slide. So at the Conservation District, we're proud not only to have done the work, but we're also proud to have clearly demonstrated that local, sustained, and science-based groundwater management works. And we're really delighted to be sharing these results with this group as part of today's discussion. Next slide. So now I'd like to shift from talking about the past, getting you up to speed on the history of groundwater storage in the Bunker Hill Basin, and shifting to talk about several key partnership projects that were either recently completed by the Conservation District or our partners or are currently in process. These projects are critical because of the changes we've seen in our region over time. When the Conservation District began doing our work, San Bernardino County had 50,000 people, and today we have over 2 million inhabitants. As you are all so aware of and so familiar with, how we're getting our water is changing. The slow snow melts coming off the mountains is shifting to big storms where the precipitation is falling as rain rather than snow. We're learning a lot more about atmospheric rivers. And the regulatory landscape is changing. Specifically for the Conservation District, we are focused on incorporating the stewardship of local endangered species into our work stewarding the groundwater basin. Next slide, please. So I'd love to start by talking about the Plunge Creek Conservation Project. This project was constructed by the Conservation District on Conservation District-owned lands in 2020 with major funding through a grant from the Santa Ana Watershed Project Authority. The goal of this project was to increase groundwater recharge with two caveats. We wanted to increase groundwater recharge with very limited construction costs, and we also wanted to do it in a way that would simultaneously improve habitat for critically endangered San Bernardino kangaroo rat. So in today's parlance, we wanted to do a multi-benefit project based on nature-based solutions. To plan the project, we looked at topography in the area to understand where the stream used to flow before it was constrained by the construction of dams and roads upstreams. And then we used those data to guide minor grading to rebraid and really rewild the stream channel, which slows down the water to increase percolation. Next slide, please. And it deposits sand that is perfect habitat for the San Bernardino kangaroo rat. Next slide. To date, this project, without any additional construction after the summer of 2020, has restored 15 acres of habitat and recharged 5,500 acre-feet of water. Next slide, please. Now I want to talk about the Enhanced Recharge Project, which is located just south of the Plunge Creek Conservation Project in the alluvial wash. Next slide, please. This project was developed under a partnership agreement from 2013 with the San Bernardino Valley Municipal Water District. San Bernardino Valley designed and constructed 20 new recharge basins that were completed under budget and ahead of schedule earlier this year on Conservation District lands. And these basins will double the recharge capacity along the upper Santa Ana River. The addition of these basins in an area that's known to be pretty much perfect for recharge is absolutely critical to providing climate change resilience, actually building the infrastructure that we will need to capture precipitation in our region that's now falling as rain in bigger storms rather than coming down in that slower snow melt under the warming climate scenarios. It's been wonderful to partner with San Bernardino Valley Municipal Water District on that project, and we are so excited to have the basins complete and water going in those basins as we speak. The next slide, for the next slide, we'll discuss another partnership project between the Conservation District and San Bernardino Valley Municipal Water District to allow our region to adjust to these changing climates. This project, called the PERC Initiative, next slide, is conducting a thorough evaluation of additional recharge capacity, both at existing recharge and stormwater facilities, as well as along local creeks where recharge facilities don't currently exist. The Conservation District has led the development of the feasibility studies for these projects. We have 10 different alternatives that we've looked at, that we've analyzed across 7 different sites. We have completed with consultant assistance geotechnical studies, hydrology, hydraulics, groundwater analyses, sediment transport analyses. In the final report, analyzing these results and ranking the project based on criteria that were developed through consensus by all the different participating entities in our region is being prepared as we speak. With these data in hand and with the prioritization completed, we'll be able to work closely with our partners and larger regional water entities that are interested in these projects to select projects for construction to ensure that all of our agencies are working together to continue to meet the needs of our community. Next slide, please. I have noted the changing regulatory landscape, which has changed significantly since many of our agencies came into being. Next slide, please. In July of 2020, the Water Conservation District completed and received U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service approval for the Upper Santa Ana River Wash Habitat Conservation Plan. This HCP permits 65 projects that impact 832 acres. The project proponents, along with the Conservation District, are 2 additional water agencies, 2 cities, and 2 for-profit companies. The Habitat Conservation Plan is built on a conservation strategy that allows these impacts for these projects while also setting aside a 1,600-acre preserve, primarily on lands owned by the Water Conservation District, to support 5 rare, threatened, and endangered species, which are super cute, so I put them all on a slide for this presentation. In the upper left, you see the Slenderhorn spineflower. As you move clockwise, you see the Santa Ana River woolly star, the cactus wren, the San Bernardino kangaroo rat, and the coastal California gnatcatcher. This HCP covers Water Conservation District operations at our Santa Ana spreading grounds. So on that slide I showed you at the beginning, the map that I showed, the Santa Ana spreading grounds are in the center at the top. We also have our Mill Creek spreading grounds, which is in the lower right-hand corner. This HCP does not cover our work that's being completed for our Mill Creek spreading grounds. And so for the recharge basins on the mill that take water off of Mill Creek, we are currently pursuing a conservation benefit agreement with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. The reason we're pursuing a conservation benefit agreement instead of a habitat conservation plan is because our work has proven to be compatible with our local endangered species. And we know this because these species continue to exist on Conservation District lands after they have gone extinct literally almost everywhere else across their range. We're thrilled to look at our operations holistically, not only how they can benefit groundwater recharge, but also how they can benefit the species inhabiting the land above the groundwater basin. And we're honored that these species continue to exist on our property, and we truly don't believe that that these things have to be at odds with one another. We don't believe that we can do groundwater recharge or endangered species management. So we're doing both. Next slide, please. We are getting close to the end here. I just want to let folks know, because I can see my time moving along here. The last project that I want to mention is the forecast-informed reservoir operations that were brought to the Seven Oaks Dam, which is just upstream of our operations, by the San Bernardino Valley Municipal Water District. Forecast-informed reservoir operations, or FIRO, was brought to Southern California by Orange County Water District after being developed in Northern California in Sonoma County, and being put to work there, and I believe Lake Mendocino as well. Next slide, please. I just have to say, as I wrap up, that I'm sure many of you are familiar with FIRO, ensuring that the infrastructure that's already built, that you and I, as our tax base, have already paid for, is being put to the best possible use for every single one of us, and as water managers, for every single one of our ratepayers. I have to say that since I started working for government in 2002, I think FIRO is the best idea I've heard. I know I'm preaching to the choir here today, so I won't go into detail. But I just want to thank, as I mentioned, San Bernardino Valley Municipal Water District for bringing this into the upper Santa Ana River watershed, for Orange County to bringing it into the lower watershed. And we're now all working together to have Seven Oaks Dam operate in conjunction with Prado Dam, all in service of allowing additional water to be recharged in our basin. Next slide, please. So thank you very, very much for your time to share a little bit about the exciting projects that are taking place in the upper Santa Ana River watershed. And I would now like to turn the presentation over to Rob Catherman, a director at the Water Replenishment District. Thank you so much.
Betsy, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
We can.
Let me get my video going here. There we go. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you so very much for inviting me. I'm a politician, so please don't hold that against me. When I started 20 years ago at WRD, I'd go to water meetings and no one would ever mention groundwater, much less water storage. And it shows you how things have changed in the last 20 years as a result of climate change. So WRD, what do we do? We were created in 1959 by a public vote to provide groundwater replenishment that Mother Nature cannot provide. Our groundwater basin, which is this Los Angeles coastal basin, has two parts to it, Central Basin and West Basin, that are divided by the Newport Englewood Uplift Fault. The two basins are connected together but have separate names because they have been adjudicated separately, meaning that the pumping rights have been limited in both basins to control groundwater depletion. So our mission is then to provide for what is beyond the safe yield pumping that is allowed in the two basins. So basically the pumping allowed in the basins is about 280,000 acre feet, and the sustainable yield is about half of that. So next slide. So this is a map of our service area. It's 400 square miles in South LA County from the Pacific Ocean, Orange County border, and then a mishmash of area to the north, basically along the 1060 freeways. We got 4 million people in our service area, and groundwater provides about half of our potable drinking water for those 4 million people. So the good news, bad news, overpumping in the turn of the 20th century caused depletion of our groundwater basins and lowered the level, creating seawater intrusion on the west and south coasts. But it also provided a large area in the aquifer that could be used for storage, approximately 450,000 acre feet to be exact. Next slide. So we manage our groundwater recharge in 3 seawater barriers. As you can see on the west, the south, and the southeast. So the West Coast barrier, the Dominguez Gap barrier between the harbor and Long Beach freeways north of the ports, and then a smaller Alamitos barrier on the Long Beach and Orange County border. And those barriers were required to put in advanced treated water that's gone through reverse osmosis, just like ocean desal technology. A majority of our replenishment, though, occurs in the 1,000 acres of the Santa Ana and Rio Hondo rivers up in the blue area to the north in the Whittier Narrows area. Their water percolates into the sand and gravel and travels to the southwest, slowly moving through the aquifer. If you take a well water from Long Beach or the beach communities today, you're drinking water that was stormwater 60 or 70 years ago. Next slide. So we had operated over the early years as a purchaser of imported water, primarily from both West Basin Municipal Water District, that's a Met member, and Central Basin. We are not members of Metropolitan, so we have to go through the 2 Metropolitan member agencies. And over the course of several decades, we had gradually worked on reducing our reliance on imported water by using additional reclaimed water and partnering with West Basin Municipal Water District and the City of Los Angeles Terminal Island Treatment Plant. When I started back in 2000, we were looking at the request of the State Water Board to create amendments to our judgments. These judgments were adjudicated back in the 60s and did not anticipate the need for groundwater storage in our basins. After a decade of fighting over the terms of the judgment amendments, we finally got them approved in court in 2013 and 2014, which enabled us then to utilize our empty aquifer space for groundwater storage. To date, the basin storage has been primarily used for unpumped water that is carried over by pumpers each year. And that now amounts to about 20% of our total groundwater production each year is carryover, what we call a carryover conversion, pumping rights that were not used the prior year. And the pumping rights, as I said, are about 280,000 acre feet. of rights, and each year about 200,000 acre feet is actually pumped. Next slide. And this shows where in the purple, down at the bottom of the slide, is the current groundwater pumping in the west and the central basin. So between the two basins, they pump about 200 to 210,000 acre feet a year, leaving 60 to 70,000 acre feet of unused water rights. In addition, there is another 450,000 acre feet of available storage and above the area which is used for pumping every day. So our replenishment, as the slide indicates, is both stormwater and recycled water. In 2004, we made a big push called Water Independence Now to deal with climate change and increasing prices of imported water and the unreliability of imported water as a result of climate change. And through partnerships with City of Los Angeles and West Basin Municipal Water District, we have achieved basically water independence. All of our replenishment water in 2019, when we completed our advanced treatment plant in Pico Rivera, we are now basically independent of imported water and drought proof. In 2016, we started working on a master plan to utilize additional reclaimed water from Metropolitan Water District, West Basin, and from the Department of Water and Power and the City of Los Angeles Hyperion plant. Those plants, the SoCal Pure Water Project that Metropolitan is partnering with County Sanitation District, will provide about 150 million gallons a day of reclaimed water. Hyperion plant is proposing about 200 million gallons a day when they eventually get to Hyperion. So in the meantime, next slide. We are working in the West Basin to clean up a brackish water plume, which is the result of seawater intrusion before the barriers were built. And again, a seawater barrier is a well that's created where you put water into the aquifer rather than extracting it out of the aquifer. And putting that water into the barrier system pushes the seawater back to the east and has created this spread of salty water that ranges from 500 to about 5,000 parts per million. By comparison, ocean water is 30 to 35,000 parts per million. So we built a treatment plant in Torrance in 2004 as a pilot project to test the theory of, can we actually start extracting that brackish water and utilizing it for drinking water, serving the city of Torrance. It was very successful, and we expanded the plant in 2017 to double its capacity up to 4 million gallons a day. And we now are working with a new $150 million advanced treated plant expansion at the site with 5 new wells to start pulling out a larger area of the brackish water plume. That water will be purchased by the city of Torrance and put into their drinking water system. and perhaps added water will be sold to Cal Water to serve some of the other beach cities. So we'll move from the 4 million gallons a day to about 8 million gallons a day. And over the course of the next 20 years, we will clean up this part of the basin to enable it to be used for groundwater storage. Now going to the Central Basin, next slide. This is the area up at the two spreading grounds, and the yellow dots show PFOA and PFOS contamination in the wells. To date, we have allocated about $60 million to help pumpers with wellhead treatment for those wells in these areas. And we anticipate having to spend another $60 to $100 million in additional treatment once the now delayed EPA regulations take effect in 2031. In the meantime, the remainder of that basin is available for groundwater storage through percolation into these spreading grounds. So we're hoping there to utilize about 280 to 300,000 acre feet of groundwater storage in the Central Basin. Our water there will come from the joint plant in Carson on the Pure Water Southern Cal project. The West Basin, we hope to get in partnership with West Basin Municipal Water District water also from the joint plant to the tune of 40 to 50,000 acre feet over the course of the next decade. So that's our plan. Hopefully by 2040, we will be completely self-sustainable and independent from imported water, making our water supply for 4 million residents drought-proof. And thank you very much. I'm certainly available for questions.
Thank you very much, Rob. Wonderful. Thank you, John. And thank you, Betsy. We are going to begin our dialogue part of our meeting right now. Normally, this is something that Dee Zink or Connor will handle. They can't be with us today, so I, Kathy Caldwell, am happy to move us through that section. I see that we have about 6 questions. And in order to ask questions, if there are any people in the audience who would like to do so now or as we move through the next 20 or so minutes, you go to the Q&A part on the bottom of your screen and just click that and then submit your question. And you type it in and then send it off, and I'll get that and we will get to it in due time. So we all have our speakers back with us. Rob, if you can unmute, because you might get some questions.
Okay.
Betsy too, welcome back. Thank you all very much. They were really, really great. Let me start with Betsy, please. Charming Evelyn said, Betsy, that was wonderful, especially showing the habitat restoration due to replenishing groundwater. Thank you. That was great. Her question, one of her questions is, what is the total capacity of Bunker Hill Basin? No.
It's approximately 6 million acre feet of recoverable storage.
Okay. Good. Another anonymous question is, with so much replenishment and the opportunity to do more, will San Bernardino get off imported water from the State Water Project?
Right now, there's quite a lot of storage, sadly, available in the basin. after the droughts of the last 10 years or so. We've made a huge progress over the last 3 years, but right now we are looking at recharging all water that comes our way. In terms of what the retailers choose to do, I can't speak to that. But as I mentioned, there are some excellent recycled water projects that City of San Bernardino is working on, and East Valley Water District brought a really exciting project on just a couple of years ago. So the retailers really are working to diversify our portfolio.
Kathy, you're on mute.
Thank you. I have some questions for you, John, now.
Mhm.
Michael Gagan asks, could you identify the locations of the sites selected for further analysis?
Yes, on slide 12, each one of the 10 sites that are moving forward are identified by their geographical name. So it's just a simple of if you type that name in Google Maps, you'll see the location.
Do you happen, John, do you happen to have a map that would show the locations?
Not in front of me, but we do have a map. We create those maps because everything these days is GIS based. So all of these are in GIS. But we can once the report comes out, we can provide you with a map.
I know someone will ask when if you haven't answered this already, when is the report expected to be out?
Maybe a couple of months, as soon as we complete our internal review of the report.
Okay. Charming Evelyn asks for you, John, again, there are downsides to surface storage. None of them were mentioned. Can you go over these, please?
Yes, just like there are many benefits to surface water storage, there are some downsides or concerns. I'll start with the most obvious one, evaporation losses. Obviously, large open reservoirs lose significant amounts of water to evaporation. The second concern would be the high capital cost, and along with that, the high maintenance cost of constructing and maintaining large surface storage reservoirs. They tend to be extremely expensive, and there is always ongoing operational and environmental management associated with them. There are environmental impacts for the construction of surface water reservoirs. Usually you're flooding areas that could have been or potentially is habitat. Some of the reservoirs we've identified are along rivers ecosystems, and some may have wildlife mitigation. And so we at Metropolitan take that very seriously and include it in our assessments. Our purpose is always to reduce our environmental footprint. Another concern would be seismic risk and structural vulnerability. We are in earthquake-prone region, and dam failures, are real. The most recent one would be Oroville Dam, the emergency spillway. For example, I'm trying to remember, I think 2017 it was. Also, there are regulatory and permitting challenges. Usually it's regulatory hurdles are intensive and require CEQA compliance. There are federal and state environmental review. And of course, usually you get some publics concerned about, having a reservoir. Also, the surface water storage really looks at the ability to capture excess flows, which are being, really hydrologically driven, and with a changing climate, they ebb and they flow. So managing, water rights, and when you get that water will be a challenge.